Check the mic, we're going live. Stories told, they rise and dive. Topics fresh with every spin. You won't guess what's coming in. Every week a new surprise. Minds awake, never lies. Conversations bold and free. Tune in now, just wait and see. This podcast is uncalled for. Catch us here, there's so much more. Laughs and tales you can't ignore. A journey that will leave you floored. In the night or in the day, just press play, we're on our way. Voices sharp, opinions bright, talking through the day and night.
Hello, once again, this is this podcast is uncalled for, and I have another great guest with me today. So if you could introduce yourself for my audience, please.
No problem. Thank you very much, Mike. My name's Gerry Strain. I'm based in Glasgow, in Scotland, in the United Kingdom, and I'm formerly sporting director at Hamilton Academical, and I've been a football agent. I've been a field footballer. I tried to make the grade. I got so far and then realised I wasn't good enough, and I was told I wasn't good enough. So I sought a career elsewhere in the game. I've had an eventful career, both in football and business, and I'm happy to share all openly with you.
All right, excellent. So yeah, as we were talking before we started the recording, we're recording this about 24 hours after Aston Villa won the Europa League.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous achievement. Yeah, it's good to see. Really good to see.
Now being American, I have a limited idea of just how consequential this particular club is, but from a British point of view, could you add a little more context to what we witnessed yesterday?
Oh, unbelievable. I think in my lifetime, I'm 46. So when I grew up, the teams that you would look up to and admire would be Aston Villa, Ipswich Town, Notts Forest, Liverpool. They were the main teams. And then obviously the fan behaviour led to a ban for English clubs from Europe. And since then, obviously there was no English participation, so there was a significant period of time, without any English team winning at that level. But I think to see Aston Villa get back to those highs, especially after being relegated to the Championship, I just think it's absolutely fantastic. They've got John McGinn there, who's a Scotsman, as well. He's a talisman for them, and it's just really, really good to see. They're a great club. They're a massive club, and the trajectory they're on now is really, really good to witness.
Yeah, it's great to hear. I know they are one of 6 English teams who have won the what is now the Champions League, formerly the European Cup, and a couple of those other teams you mentioned, Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, are 2 others.
Yeah. Well, what's your motivation for following them? If you don't mind me asking.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. I got into English football about 2010-ish, and I narrowed it down to a couple of clubs just because they sounded good. One was Aston Villa, another was Arsenal,
Yeah.
and another one still was Sheffield Wednesday.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So for a while I was leaning more towards Arsenal, but being a St. Louis Ram fan in American football and seeing that scumbag Kroenke literally buy my team out of St. Louis, I was like, nah, I can't be a full-blown Arsenal fan. So up the Villa.
Up the Villa, and then you've got the Derby County or the Rams over here. So that's another club that could be close to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's their nicknames, the Rams. Yeah, obviously, they're not successful as Aston Villa have been, but in terms of association by name, you could maybe adopt them.
Yeah. So yeah, you got your future king, and William is a big fan. Tom Hanks, big fan.
Right,
Also American, yeah. the band Duran Duran
Yeah,
are all fans. Ozzy Osbourne, may he rest in peace, was a fan as well.
yeah.
So big fans behind Aston Villa Football Club.
No, it's good. It's long may their success continue. They deserve it. They're a good big club.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Now, Scotland, since you mentioned you are Scottish, Celtic and Rangers, I think, are the big two, right?
Yeah, I think it's a social that's a social situation that the geopolitics of Scotland, is you had the Irish immigration to
Hmm.
Scotland, the potato famine, and the Irish diaspora, that led to Brother Wilfred, who founded Celtic. It set that up to feed the poor people of the East End of Glasgow. It wasn't just Catholics, but Celtic became known as a more kind of Catholic focused club, and then you've
Hmm.
got Rangers would be the establishment club. And the demographic of Scotland was that you had Catholics and Protestants essentially on both sides. But Celtic have never been to my knowledge, they've never been a purely Catholic club. If you look at the greatest players and the greatest influences at Celtic, they've been non-Catholic, Jock Stein, Kenneth Dalglish, and so on. Um, but the tribal line that runs through Scotland tends to fuel something it's not as unique
Hmm.
as bigotry.
Yeah.
It's bigotry. We call it for what it is. It's bigotry and it's racism. Um, and it's not nice, but there's money in it.
Hmm.
There's money in it, and you've got one side that's pro-British identity, and you get one side that's anti-establishment.
Hmm.
But that's in very, very simple terms. It's not everyone shares those values and opinions, but that's where the marketability of it is. That's where the atmosphere comes from. That's where the nastiness and rivalry comes from.
Right.
Um, and my own opinion, I grew up a Celtic fan. Celtic basically, Celtic or Rangers pick you as a kid.
Hmm.
Depending on your family.
Right.
Um, you tend to find that Celtic or Rangers pick you, particularly if you live in Glasgow. And I grew up a Celtic fan, but it's as a 46-year-old adult, um, the kind of tribalisms is not nice, especially when you're a dad.
Hmm.
Uh, and then having worked in Scottish football with a provincial club with a very, very small fan base, you actually see the damage that the club I grew up supporting in Rangers cause because they take fans away from the other clubs. So there's very, very few, again from my experience, that there's very few Celtic Rangers fans would go out with
Hmm.
their to support other clubs. But there's the number of football clubs in Scottish football. Don't get me wrong, the attendances are the highest per capita in Europe for games. So there's a desire to watch the product,
Hmm.
but the split of the money and the revenue is just not fair. It's
Right.
Celtic Rangers get everything that's going. More so Celtic just now. It would appear to be that Celtic get the rub of the green, pardon the pun. Um, they seem to be riding the crest of this wave where a lot of decisions go in Celtic's favour, and they're the most successful club certainly this century.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but Rangers have got a really kind of astonishing loyal fan base that follow them everywhere.
Hmm.
Uh, but that's not just Scottish football. So from that's I find that a frustration,
Right.
which is ironic because having grown up a Celtic fan and followed them everywhere, you you almost wonder how good Scottish football could really be if the rest of the teams had a parity.
Right.
You so like, some of the things that I wanted to see, it would never happen. But in golf, you have a handicap situation.
Hmm.
I would genuinely like to see, like this year Livingston get relegated. I would like to see the likes of Livingston, St Mirren, and Kilmarnock operating a handicap system.
Hmm.
The Scottish Premier League operate a handicap system based on realistic revenue streams that they can achieve. You
Right.
know, Celtic's turnovers it's not a lot by comparative terms to the Premier League and maybe America, but if say Celtic's turnover's 100 odd million pounds,
Hmm.
you have a team in the same league whose turnover's a fraction of that. They don't have any realistic opportunity to compete,
Hmm.
which I think is unfair. I don't think there's any sporting integrity in that. So I think you have to find a way of getting a balancing act.
Yeah.
And certainly, it would give other clubs a chance to get European revenue, because depending if there was a handicap system, say, which it wouldn't work because with too much objection to it. But in a holistic and ideal world,
Right.
you everyone's sharing the same table and having the same opportunity. And
Yeah.
that's not the way it is. Celtic have been dominant for so long. They've had all the Champions League money, and it's basically given them a cushion.
Hmm.
Everyone else this year, Heart of Midlothian run them really close. It went to the last game, pretty much the last kick of the ball. Hearts almost won the league, and that would have been arguably better for Scottish football, um, because no one out with Celtic or Rangers has won the league for so long.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a closed shop, which is a
Which is something as an American I'm very familiar with because all of our sports leagues operate in a closed shop system. The NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, and yes, even Major League Soccer
yeah.
runs as a closed shop. So,
What I found disappointing was, obviously being involved in Scottish football. I attended a meeting at the National Stadium, and there was a chap who he's on both boards of the league and the association,
mhm,
and there was a bit of conversation. I wouldn't say debate, but this conversation ensued, and I was representing my club on the basis that I believed that we had the same entitlement or vote as, say, Celtic or Rangers.
mhm,
And his view was that I had to understand that Scottish football consisted of three components: Celtic, Rangers, and everyone else. Right. And that really pissed me off, because that's just, I just think that's wrong. I don't think that's representative of a fair footballing environment. I don't think that if you're going to, if all you can sell is Celtic and Rangers, then I don't think that commercially you're representing the rest of Scottish football.
right.
The way that it could be. That's just my opinion. Now I know that Celtic and Rangers command the global audience because the diaspora, America, Australia, Canada,
Hmm.
wherever. So I know there's a global demand for it. But surely to God, you have to take the rest of your product and promote it and make it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my feeling on it. I think there has to be a fairness for every other club. And what's come to light now with Celtic winning the league again, albeit they deserve it.
Hmm.
You know, Martin O'Neill, the current coach, who I know, he's a lovely guy. Um, he's dragged Celtic out the gutter twice this season, so they arguably they deserve to win the league. The team that finishes top tends to deserve it,
Hmm.
but it was a chance for Scottish football to be different this year for Hearts. If Hearts had won it, they
Right.
could have get Champions League money. It makes next season more competitive. Um, it gives Celtic something else to consider out with Rangers, and Rangers something else to consider out with Celtic.
Hmm.
I just think that maybe make it a better product instead of being about two clubs.
Right.
But how wrong am I?
Yeah. 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 I think the best way I'm going to use baseball as an example of what we're talking about here. Celtic Rangers could probably be seen as like Yankees Red Sox. In
Yeah,
Whereas yeah, they got the biggest revenues. Them and the Dodgers. I'll throw them in as well. Whereas teams like my hometown team, Kansas City Royals, the A's, who are in between cities, Tampa Bay, Miami, those those cities, they get far less revenue wise, and that affects their ability to attract good players and such. And because we're not in a promotion and relegation system with baseball, the bad teams are free to. This is one of the disadvantages of having a closed league system, I think. The bad teams are allowed to be bad for years on end, and maybe occasionally gets to a championship. Like again, I'm going to use the Royals as an example. They won it in 2015, and have not done well since. They got to the playoffs a couple seasons ago, but didn't really compete. So,
So you're safe. There's a safety net there that doesn't exist.
mhm,
I mean, we had Livingston relegated this year. They're a very well-run club. They've got a great manager, a guy
mhm,
called David Martindale. He's an amazing coach with great emotional intelligence. But they won the league last year, came up, and they've gone straight back down again because the budget disparity is so significant.
mhm,
On the other hand, you get Falkirk, who came up and they finished in the top six. Um, but I don't know what Falkirk are spending in wages. Certainly, I wasn't close enough to it, but it's very it's not normal that a team would win promotion and then go straight into the top six. That's a phenomenal achievement for
mhm,
Falkirk, and they're a very well run club. The guy Jamie Swinney who runs them, he's a great chief exec. He's
mhm,
a forward thinking guy, very proactive. Um, he's in it for the right reasons. And I think that's the more clubs that you can promote positively, then I
mhm.
think the better. Right, you can't put all your eggs in one basket with Celtic and Rangers.
Right.
It was only was it 2 years ago they floated this the new European League, and they
Oh,
closed it
yes. Yeah,
down.
the European Super League. Yeah.
Really, guy, but so you can't tell me if Celtic and Rangers were asked to go into that they wouldn't accept.
Mhm,
And the minute they do that, your games, what happens to your game when you've put so much focus and emphasis on those two?
right.
If they get a chance to move because they've got the fan base, they've got the commercial revenue appeal, they quite rightly you would argue they would go. And then so your game's then left, what type of position? And that's just where I just think we need to be a bit more brave and a
Mhm.
bit fair to other clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so, yeah, and we've got of course, we've got the World Cup coming here to the States this summer. In fact, next month, and I'll be releasing this episode during the World Cup. So,
Right, okay. Yeah. Uh,
so
we've got Haiti in the first match, so
oh man, so Kansas City, we're hosting the English club or the English national team. We're hosting Argentina, and we're hosting the Netherlands.
wow. Well,
Yeah,
that'd be you've
yeah.
certainly good supporters there. There'll be good
Oh
atmosphere.
yeah. I was just reading in our local news that's the Dutch. They're planning on doing a march down through downtown Kansas City to rev up support for the Dutch national team, and that's that's going to be interesting to see, I think.
They bring a tremendous support and tremendous colour. There's just big orange wall, and
Mhm.
they've got a fancy dance, and aye, they're special fans. The Dutch, they're very
Yeah,
special fans. Yeah,
yeah,
they're good people.
yeah. And like I said, we have the England team is actually staying fairly close to my house, actually. So that's pretty cool to think about. And
Yeah.
then and we got and they'll be and I know where all three of the training grounds are going to be. So England's training at Swope Park, on our which is the bad part of town, if I want to describe it that way. Argentina, they're training near Sporting Park, the Sporting Kansas City Stadium,
Yeah.
and the Dutch, they're training at the women's facility in our Northland. So,
Right. Has there been a significant investment in the sporting infrastructure there in Kansas?
uh, so, um, so Kansas City, yeah, we have a temporary solution for our transit needs to get fans to and from the games and all that. We just did a slight extension of our streetcar system, so we have a one-line streetcar or tram, I guess would be the British term for that, uh, servicing our downtown and major urban core. But I'll be honest, outside of what they're playing for the World Cup, our public transit here just done quite cut it. I don't think.
Uh,
Uh, Especially being out in the suburbs like I am. The United States is so car dependent that you pretty much have to drive everywhere. If you're out in the suburbs, good luck trying to get a bus.
thank goodness. That'll be
Yeah.
interesting then. It'll be interesting to see how the fans get on when trying to attend the matches, because I think the big complaint we're hearing here in Scotland was that the cost of tickets.
Right. Oh yeah, that too. I've heard that complaints that yeah, it's too expensive for the average
Yeah,
fan to afford tickets anymore, and certainly for something like the World Cup, it's getting to the point that it's like the Super Bowl, and that
yeah,
the Super Bowl is ridiculously expensive to attend.
yeah.
You know.
No, that makes perfect sense in terms of really pitching it.
Hmm.
It's a gold mine, isn't it? It's a commercial gold mine. But
Right.
you look at the UK, certainly economically in the UK, it's it's not the most positive of times just now. Particularly what's going on with Iran and the cost of fuel and so on.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kind of cost of living challenge here at the moment, and unemployment's
Hmm.
quite high. So you've when you when you think you've got teams attending the World Cup, and you look at the price of tickets,
Hmm.
it's a bit of a hard one to justify.
Yeah. Es- Especially the costs of, yeah, not just the tickets, but travel,
Yeah,
uh, getting getting to and from the States okay, finding proper lodging, hotels and stuff.
yeah,
And since we're since you brought up our uh, worthless excuse of a president, you can tell I'm not a fan. Um, and his uh, basically trying to make it as hard as possible to get into the United States if you're from certain countries like Iran and others. So
yeah.
yeah, so they're projecting X number. It's not going to be X number. It's going to be X minus Y, and uh,
Yeah,
we're not going. We're probably not going to see the type of uh, fans showing up that I think a lot of people are expecting because of all those factors. So,
yeah. Which is quite interesting. So that you touched on something that I think is globally, politics and football go hand in hand,
hmm.
even although they shouldn't. And Scotland's very political when it comes to football and decision making.
Hmm.
I've had my own issues with the Scottish Football Association that I'm addressing at the moment through the legal process and also through FIFA.
Hmm.
Uh, and it just seems to be that it's a very, very political and hostile environment if you don't comply with, you know, what Big Brother says, or
Right.
if you go against them, you make a rod for your own back and you become a target. And that just seems to be it's not unique to Scotland, I don't think. You've touched on
Right.
it with President Trump, and the images of him with Infantino, when they launched the World Cup was just it's quite funny.
Hmm.
Aye,
Yeah. 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 That was funny. Yeah. The FIFA Peace Prize, because he'll never win a Nobel Peace Prize. FIFA
yeah,
just decided, oh, let's make up a prize just to appease this guy.
to go with sharpie pens.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was before he decided, oh, I'm going to bomb Iran.
Yeah. Aye, it's just incredible, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
incredible. Aye. You think with the world we live in, it should be peaceful.
It should. I should absolutely. Yeah, I
The
agree.
cause is important. Aye.
And hopefully we'll get to more peaceful in a couple of years with the Olympics
Yeah.
also being in the States. You
Aye.
know,
Yeah, that'd be fascinating.
yeah. But all right. So, do you have any closing thoughts? Because I'm about to
Well,
wrap this
aye,
up.
I just think that America is such a privileged environment. Um, over here we look at it as a land of opportunity.
Hmm.
Um, and I think if you're involved in football, from the knowledge that I have of it, that's the kind of place to be or the place to go. It's certainly it's where I see myself going with my career once I address these fit and proper issues that I've got with the SFA.
Hmm.
I've got I think just for context. there was some contracts over here that my name appeared on, and it's not my signature that's next to it.
Oh wow.
So that's something that the police have picked up on, and they're investigating, and we've had to go and get forensic handwriting experts
Hmm.
to verify firstly that it is not my signature, and to give us an inkling of who they think was the signatory based on other handwriting we've got. So there's a whole load of process I have to go through before I can get myself um, into the opportunity that I want. But it has to be America. It's an up and coming market, an emerging market.
Hmm.
The women's game's really taken off there as well.
Yeah.
Which
We have KC Currents as our local team. Yeah. So.
yeah, I mean it's phenomenal, and I just think that I love America as a country. I've been so many times.
Hmm.
Young cousin was educated at MIT. So particularly the East Coast, I've got a good bit of familiarity with that.
Hmm.
It's vast. It's just vast, and I like the way they go about things with the commercial side of it. That actually funds a pretty decent lifestyle. If
Right.
you get in at the right time. Is it you what you doing yourself around that piece? Are you getting involved?
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I just support my local teams. I support my local. We have a good amateur side here in Kansas City, so we got a good amateur league going on. I support one of those clubs, and uh,
Your tendencies, don't you? Your tendencies are quite good, aren't they, in Kansas?
they, yeah, Sporting draws pretty good crowds. Yeah, and all that they have certainly since moving into that stadium in the 2010, 2011, around there. And yeah, especially when they've been good and winning titles, which they're not pretty good right now. But
Yeah.
actually, actually a funny fact about our current Sporting team. One of their players, uh, my day job is I teach chess and I help run chess tournaments. Well, one of their current players is a really good chess player. Turns out
Wow.
he's come to the club a couple times to play chess and everything. Yeah, he's practically grandmaster level in
Wow.
chess. So yeah.
I think football now, the more it's evolving, it's becoming like a game of chess.
Hmm.
Positional play on field and so on. So
Right.
you'll certainly understand it.
Oh
You'll,
yeah.
aye. So that's fantastic. I've written a book which is seventh. That's it there.
Seventh. Okay.
Aye, and it's the story of how a football club finished seventh in the league, but we get relegated,
Hmm.
and it was due to politics and a whole load of other things. So I must send you a copy over.
All
Um,
right.
I'll post it over to you. It's out on Amazon and Kindle. But
Okay, great.
I'll send you a copy over for you to have a read at, and you can get a bit of an insight to some of the challenges that exist in Scottish football.
All right. Yeah. I'll send you my address after we
Yeah,
log out here. So yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
It's awesome. I love it when I got writers on the podcast to talk a little bit about their books and everything. In fact, I'll close with this. One of the books I do have from writers that have been on the podcast. They did research based on the Ted Lasso show. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
yeah. I know. I've watched that. I think Celtic actually hired a Ted Lasso manager
Oh,
in
nice.
Wilfred Nancy. He was
Yeah.
very much kind of Ted Lasso based. But it never worked out for him right enough. But he joined Celtic from, was it Columbus Crew.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, so he was very much Ted Lasso in his approach. But what a great program that is, though. That's
Yeah. I
uh,
mentioned that because I was actually in the at the same high school as Jason Sudeikis and happened to have the as a math teacher, uh, the coach that Sudeikis based most of the Ted Lasso character on. So
right, okay. Wow, a claim to fame for you.
yeah, 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 it is. So
No,
all
that's
right.
no
Well,
problem.
thanks for coming on and for everyone that to everyone that's listening. We will talk to you next time.
Thank you, Mike. Take care. God bless.
This podcast is Uncalled For, is hosted, produced, and edited by myself, Mike Chernevsky. Our opening music is This Podcast is Uncalled For theme, which was created at suno.com, suno.com. And our outro music for this episode is Wepa by Kiffin McLeod at Incomtech.com, and it is licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license.
Please support the podcast and purchase our exclusive Uncalled For merchandise. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and so much more. Go to www.cafepress.com/uncalledforpod. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.